What's more important, knowledge or action, theory or essence, substance or form? This is the life lesson we'll learn from the 22nd star of Vedic Astrology, Śatabhiṣak, 100 Unions. In this series, Life Lessons of the Vedic Nakshatra, we'll discover how life really works by exploring the 27 constellations through the mystical Sanskrit words of the Vedic Nakshatra Sutra. Welcome to the 22nd video in the series of life lessons that we learn from the Vedic Nakshatra Sutras. We're taking these sutras from Taittiriya Brahmana, which is an ancient Vedic text, an amazing goldmine of information about the nakshatras of Vedic astrology, as well as wisdom in general about your life. So what I'll do in the video series is each installment cover a different nakshatra. Today we're going to do Śatabhiṣak, which means 100 unions, and talk about it a little bit from an astrological point of view and also from the point of view of the life lesson, the kind of wisdom that it imparts to us. So we always begin by listening to the original Sanskrit that this sutra was originally written in. So here we go. Indrasya Śatabhiṣak Vishvavyachah Parastat Vishvachitti Avastha Indrasya Śatabhiṣak Vishvavyachah Parastat Vishvachitti Avastha. So now this sutra means the master of combinations needs all-encompassing space to produce all the solid earth. That's what it means. So let's talk about the individual words that are in this sutra a little bit so that you can see some of the nuances of the meaning here. Okay. The first thing you might notice is that Varuna is not directly mentioned, it appears, but instead we hear the word Indra. The first word in the sutra is Indra. So that happens often in the Nakshatra Sutras. It happens 3 times. Jeshta, as we're all familiar with, but the 2 strange ones are Chitra and Śatabhiṣak. The reason why the Nakshatra Sutras ascribe Indra to these nakshatras is to convey that these 3 nakshatras are superior. They're well suited for superiority, lordship, leadership, that kind of thing. Because that is the literal meaning of the word Indra. Indra is not just the name of a god, it's an actual word, which means the best, the king, the most powerful. So the sutra is not trying to radically redefine the gods associated with the nakshatras. It's not trying to say, no, Varuna is not the god of Śatabhiṣak, Indra is. It's just using the word Indra as a name for Varuna, because Varuna is Indra. Varuna is the original king, Indra, of the gods. In the Vedas themselves, Varuna says, like in Rig Veda, Varuna says, Aham Indro Varunaste. I'm Indra. So it's not strange to call Varuna Indra, especially when you only have 6 words to work with, which is what you have in these sutras. The author has decided to use 6 words per line. So when you have to convey a lot of meaning, you might want to use a synonym for the conventional word. In case you're thinking, no, I really think that actually the Nakshatra Sutras think that Indra is the god of Śatabhiṣak. Well, it's going to be hard to prove that or make that sound reasonable, because the sutra uses the word Vishvavyachah, which is all-encompassing space. And that is exactly what Varuna is the god of, Vishvavyachah. In fact, the word Varuna is a synonym for the word Vishvavyachah. Elsewhere in Taittiriya Brahmana, the same author is going to explicitly say Varuna is the deva of Śatabhiṣak. Okay, so don't get all hot and bothered about that and think that Indra is all of a sudden the god of Śatabhiṣak. It's Varuna, but the author is calling him Indra because this nakshatra is very lordly, and because Varuna is lordly. He's the king. He's the original Indra. Okay? So that's one thing about the nakshatra. Then you'll know for your astrological interpretations is it's not a submissive nakshatra. Now, the next word in the sutra is Śatabhiṣak, which is a very interesting word. It's based on the root shaj. And shaj means to adhere, to apply things together, to stick things together. That's what shaj means. So you got a word bishak, which is B plus saj, and that's a word which refers to doctors, because traditionally doctors put ointments and give you medicines. They apply medicines and ointments to you. So the type of doctor that applies ointments is called a bishak. It is possible to analyze the word Śatabhiṣak to mean 100 doctors, but this sutra is not using the word in that way. This sutra uses the word Śatabhiṣak to mean 100 abhishak, 100 unions, 100 connections. And again, if you think, no, I think it really is 100 doctors, you got to see what the rest of the words in the sutra are. The rest of the words in the sutra are going to show that the whole thing is all about how you can connect two things that don't appear to be connected. So that's the nature of Śatabhiṣak also for your interpretive understanding of what this nakshatra is all about. You should realize that this nakshatra is really good at making connections, and even applying it. Even there's some passion involved here when you apply it to one thing to another. So it gets sticky, it gets stuck to things, and it's good at making connections. So now let's see the next word. The next important word in the sutra is Vishvavyacha. Right? So Vyacha means like ether, space itself. And Vishva means all of it. So the word Vishvavyacha means the all-encompassing vastness of space. That's what Varuna means. Okay, because Varuna means Varu, na, the thing which is the greatest, the all-encompassing thing. So in the physical world, space is the greatest element. It encompasses all the other elements. Okay, so Vishvavyacha means this great expansive space thing. See, the nature of space is just very subtle, abstract. It doesn't have any real, very few properties to space. It just fits other stuff in it, right? So that's the thing you should know, is that Śatabhiṣak needs abstract things. That's what Vyacha is, some abstract, undefinable, gaseous type of thing. Why does it need such space, or why does it need such abstraction? That's what the final, meaningful word in the sutra is. It's Vishva Kshiti. Kshiti means to bring things together. So Kshiti refers to the earth, the solid earth. Kshi means to pull it together, to crush, kind of, to crumple together. So this word is really interesting because it's both the assembly of something by compression and also the destruction of the thing by compression. What Śatabhiṣak does, what the sutra is saying, is it takes space, which is very vapid, right, which is very empty, but it knows how to pull or connect the particles of it together so that it can be compressed into solid things, which have some tangible shape. And this is exactly how modern science conceives of the universe. This is exactly how modern science thinks of physical reality, right? Physical reality is supposed to be just a bunch of molecules. That's what the sutra is saying. It's saying that the physical reality, or the Vishvakshiti, is the adherence, the stickiness, the intermolecular forces, the gravitational forces, the abhishak, of many shat, subtle, imperceptible things like molecules, Vishvavyacha. And then even the molecule is the Śatabhiṣak, the connectivity between even more subtle things, the atoms. And then even the atoms are the Śatabhiṣak, the connectivity of more subtle things, like electrons and so forth. So to summarize the meaning of what the sutra is saying, it's saying the master of making connections needs to take subtle, imperceptible, intangible, abstract things and make them concrete, obvious, clear, tangible, and useful in a practical way. Okay? So the kind of things that Śatabhiṣak is great for is like taking a leadership position where you can show somebody what's real, where you can clarify things for people. That kind of a leadership position is very good for Śatabhiṣak. And so Mars or Saturn, leadershipy planets, will do well here in that sense. They'll bring out this potential of Śatabhiṣak. Śatabhiṣak has a tendency to feel confined, easily confined, because it needs wide open space, right? And that's why Śatabhiṣak is known to go outside of the boundaries. Śatabhiṣak is outside of the norm because it needs its space, it needs its freedom. And so if you put Rahu or Ketu in this nakshatra, it'll exacerbate or accentuate that quality of Śatabhiṣak. And particularly if Rahu is here, it does so in a pretty positive way. It makes a person really outside of the box. Saturn in Śatabhiṣak will do both. It will accentuate the leadership by way of showing what's real and practical and making things clear. And it'll also accentuate the going outside of boundaries, because Saturn doesn't like to conform with hierarchies. It conforms to its own practical considerations. And then finally, Śatabhiṣak, it's very good at joining things, right? So it has a sexual nature too. This is why it's denoted as a Chala nakshatra. And so if you have certain planets here, that will come out, like Venus, Moon, Mars, or even Jupiter, because Jupiter is reproductive. It will bring out that potential more than the other planets. And finally, another facet of Śatabhiṣak is that it's quite intellectual, because it can make connections between things. It can connect, that thing over here is related to this thing over here, and now it makes sense, and now it's real. And so if you put Mercury in Śatabhiṣak, you'll really notice that more. Okay, so now let's talk about the life lesson, right? Which is more important, knowledge or action, theory or practice, abstract or tangible, spiritual or material, that kind of thing. So the flaw that almost all of us have in approaching this topic or these topics is that we think that theory and practice, etc., are two divorceable things, two different things. And this is such an important topic that not only is it in a Nakshatra Sutra, but it's also in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna explicitly asked Krishna this very question, more than once actually. So he says, which is better, knowledge or action? He just asked that direct question, and Krishna's reply is, you can't divorce one from the other. If knowledge is without action, then it's impotent and useless. And if action is without knowledge, then it's also impotent and useless. If you just want to be abstract, theoretical, intellectual, that's going to be useless. You're actually not going to be able to fully intellectualize the thing even, fully comprehend the abstract thing, unless you try to bring it into some tangible, practical setting, make something real out of your idea. And conversely, if you're just trying to be, abstract and theory, that's all a bunch of garbage. It's all just about what works. So you just do practical, you want to be practical, then you're also going to be wasting tons of energy, chasing the wrong dogs down the wrong alleys. Because if action is not guided by clear wisdom and clear comprehension of abstract ideas, then you're just acting like a barbarian. Right? So this happens in astrology as well. Some people get criticized as being too abstract, and they say, we just want to just show us the practical proof. Right? Well, as if practical proof would be easy to show in a subject such as astrology. But anyway, the two have to be combined. You can't actually even demonstrate practical proof unless you have a clear hypothesis that you're demonstrating, unless you have a clear theory. And unless you have a clear, unless you try to demonstrate practical proof, your theories won't get honed. So it's not just theory, it's not just practice. Theory and practice work together. And it's not just substance, or it's not just form. And this also has an impact on relationships. Let's take an example like a Valentine's heart. A Valentine's heart is meaningless. It's just a tangible object. But the Valentine heart, if it's connected to some abstract idea, like if it's connected to the feelings of somebody who gave it to you, then that tangible, practical box of chocolate has huge meaning. And the feeling invested in that also gets clarified and gets realized and gets strengthened. It's talking about you can't just have abstract feelings, you have to put them into practice and make concrete expressions of them. But you can't just have concrete expressions of love without actually feeling it. So that's what the sutra is really saying, to sum it up and end it, that the real magic of life is in the connections, Śatabhiṣak, between the tangible form of things and its intangible internal essence. The more that you can bring out the connectivity, the connection between the internal essence of a thing and its external manifestation, the more excitement, joy, and thrill that you'll feel in your life.
Don't miss the life lessons from the other 26 star clusters of Vedic astrology. Subscribe to my channel now. And keep your ears up for announcements about the release of this book and the next online classes about it. Thanks.